Hello, everyone, back to an Accounting Crypto video. I hope you guys are doing well, and today we're back with another banger PulseChain video giving you guys the latest and greatest of crypto news. And I wanted to make this video to acknowledge the current state of PulseChain. Okay, it has been read in the past few days. What does this mean in the short term to the midterm to the long term? But at the same time, I've seen a lot of people starting to self-doubt their positions, their bags in PulseChain. So this video will serve as a reminder to all of you. Okay, especially to the people who are not in communities such as my farmers community, which unfortunately is now private. Okay, maybe I'll open it up sometime soon or do something else. But it's even worse when you're left alone and you're checking, you have an unhealthy relationship with your portfolio. You've overexposed yourself and now your psychology is putting you in denial. After all the videos that I've been making, talking about these sacrifice funds, it's almost too good to be true. But let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, okay, Ethereum launched in the bear market. Bitcoin launched in the bear market a year after the global financial crisis in 2008. But it gets even crazier than that. Richard Hart in multiple live streams has spoken about this, and he said the best time for a chain or a project is to launch in the bear markets, because by the time it goes to a bull run, that chart would look so beautiful. And he uses the term hockey stick. So let me tell you right now, the fact that PulseChain launched in the middle of this bear market into 2023 in May is by design. What a lot of you guys don't understand, and it's almost as if it's too good to be true, is that Richard has planned this all before. And also, I feel like a lot of you guys haven't done the research on who is Richard Hart prior to PulseChain, prior to the sacrifice, prior to EHEX. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a potential billionaire that has retired in his 20s, that he's not doing this for money. He's doing this for legacy, and he is patient. He has called the top of the Bitcoin in the last cycle, and there's more to cover in this video. So again, watch the whole video through. We will answer everything. So actually, before we jump into some macroeconomics, I want to start off with this tweet that I made earlier today. Okay, and then we got a comment here. Jeremy says, "Lol, give it up. We all got fleeced by Richard Hart." And I've been seeing a lot of these comments on my YouTube or all over on Twitter. And this actually makes me even more bullish, because if you guys didn't know, that bull markets are born on pessimism. In the depression times, in times of denial, times like these. So yeah, this is what I said to the gentleman. I said, yeah, let me sell when Ethereum isn't at $7,000 yet. The reason why I specifically said 7,000, because that's the first kind of milestone or first level when you do the Fibonacci extensions. So crazy that some of us are so in denial, even though that Ethereum literally broke its all-time high with a crazy God candle that did a 15% in absolutely one day last week. So 7 days later, it's as if none of that has happened. This is the retail investor mindset that you guys need to be aware of, because once you do acknowledge that, you need to understand that yes, every single day I will have to constantly be fighting against my own emotions. When I look at the chart, I need to understand that price is not equal to value. And that's when you start seeing through everything. It's as if you've taken the red pill in crypto. So then I'll go ahead and say, let me sell when altcoin season hasn't even started yet. Let me sell when Bitcoin dominance hasn't even fallen yet. So if you look at the Bitcoin dominance, it's the only thing that has went up in my watch list today. Bitcoin dominance is up 1.18% when everything else is down. Even ETH BTC ratio, guys, down 4.56%. That sounds bearish. But then when you zoom out, you realize actually a few weeks ago, a month or 2 months ago, this used to be 0.0 under 0.03. So we look at where we are today. This normal correction is healthy. And again, it goes back to not being short-term price oriented. You have to block the noise. So going back to that tweet, and then I said, let me sell when quantitative easing haven't even started yet. It hasn't. The next FOMC meeting it's not in August. We skipped this month. It's actually in September, around 16th or 17th. And this one has predictions of around 75% of people saying that we're going to see rate cuts down by 25 points, not 50 points, but 25. Still, nonetheless, is really great. And kind of other things to look forward to is the Purchasing Managers Index. The next kind of candle print will be towards the end of this month. So we shall see if it is any number above 48. That will be a great sign. And this chart will show exactly what I mean by the fact that quantitative easing haven't even started yet. Okay, so this is the Federal Reserve balance sheet of United States. And you can see that this is, by the way, it topped. Again, this is their assets. So this is how much the Federal Reserve is holding in terms of their assets. And this topped around May of 2022, almost exactly when the altcoin season or the bear market started in the previous bull. It's so crazy how the Bitcoin cycle, the Bitcoin halving cycle, the debt cycle, the business cycle, the quantitative easing, quantitative tightening, all aligned together. But something about me that I'll tell you now is that I don't believe in coincidences, ladies and gentlemen. I look at patterns, and history often repeats itself. But anyways, going back to this chart, why do we know that quantitative easing hasn't even started? Is because since the peak of 2022, the Federal Reserve have actually only been releasing or selling back their assets into the market. So yeah, this is a clear indication of quantitative tightening, or also known as QT. And as an effect, this will result in lower inflation levels, which by the way has taken us years to reach to this point, which is around the Fed's target level of 2%. So that's actually a really good thing. Other things that are also effective is the interest rate, which is basically the cost of borrowing to banks. And usually that number does go up. And also in other things are the long-term bond yields, and usually this also goes up, which actually incentivizes creditors to basically buy those bonds and lend more money. But in our case, we actually want the Federal Reserve to be doing the bond buying because it will result in a significant increase in liquidity. And obviously, as an effect, this will reduce the interest rates, allowing it to be cheaper, easier, more affordable for other people to take on debt. So yeah, it is the opposite of quantitative tightening, which is incentivizing the debtors. This is also great for an economy in general because this will incentivize people to take on more risk, incentivize people to invest, incentivize people to consume, upskill, and a bunch of other things, even like start doing domestic services and much more. So we are waiting for quantitative easing. This is known to be great for risk on assets such as Bitcoin, such as Ethereum, and of course such as altcoins like PulseChain, ladies and gentlemen. So to keep it simple, I'm just going to leave you with this: that quantitative easing is inevitable. It is just a question of whether you will be able to withstand the test of time until it arrives, until we are in quantitative easing. So until then, I want you guys to eliminate the time factor. Do not leverage. Do not short. Do not borrow money that is not yours. And most importantly is to invest with only risk capital. Money that you can afford to lose. Money that you can set and forget. So I'll leave you with that, and I hope you guys found that helpful. Now, going back to the tweet, what I have talked about here, and I said, don't forget about PulseChain's sacrifice funds, which, by the way, if you look at the status of that, even at today's correction of Ethereum, which is minus 7.1%, and of course, Bitcoin is down minus 1.4%, we are still in 50 fear and greed index, so it is neutral, and as you guys can see, it is very evident that that is the case. The current price of Ethereum is 4.6K. So if we look at this, just to refresh, just in case, yeah, the sacrifice funds are still up 18.4%, up 115 million. Does it not feel good to sit back, relax, and let Ethereum do most of the heavy lifting? We are a leverage of Ethereum's success after all, ladies and gentlemen. Thankfully, PulseChain is an EVM compatible, and on top of that, we are going through our first cycle. The highest growth potential is here right now. The next 365 days, or even less at this point actually, the next 365 days can be, the choices that you take today will be a major decider of how successful you are tomorrow. So looking at this reply on my tweet from Pulse Maxi here, he says, the sacrifice funds are controversial. I'm not convinced it's going to get rotated in. Richard got a lot of debt with taxes and other nonsense. I can't imagine him rotating this in to pump our bags. So this was my reply. You do know that Richard got his billionaire status way before PulseChain, way before the sacrifice phase, way before EHEX launched. He was a successful entrepreneur that retired in the age of 20. He then came across Bitcoin and was around the first 50 people to know of it, solo mined whole Bitcoin blocks from his computer. He has a plan. He's not doing this for money. He's doing this for legacy. He knows how to time the market, as he did with EHEX with the last bull run, with the adoption amplifier rotation when Ethereum topped, and also when he called the top of the Bitcoin. The rotation will happen when majority of us least expect it. Non-believers will be shaken out. Ask yourself, are you a believer? And if you are, then this shouldn't be a worry. unless you've overexposed yourself by investing more than what you're willing to lose. Diversify, understand your individual risk tolerance, only hold what you believe in, eliminate the time factor by not leveraging or borrowing money, especially that you can't afford to maintain. Of course, this is non-financial advice, this is just my thoughts. So moving on to some interesting stats from Pulse Alerts here. He says PulseChain added 15,547 new active wallets this week. Very, very bullish. And here's another kind of visionary or manifestation tweet from Peplord. Says PulseChain X Trezor, 200,000 free electronic device donations should hit the water in a few days. Just imagine. And before we move on to the last tweet of this video, I want to quickly show you guys the Ethereum monthly returns and kind of looking at the pattern recognition of how it usually performs during bull runs. So again, looking at the Bitcoin halving year and the post Bitcoin halving year during the last quarter. So looking at the 2017 or 2016, you can see that in November and December, it has a record of doing very well. Now moving on to the next Bitcoin halving year, which is in 2020, you can see that it had a really successful last quarter. Now moving on to the altcoin year as well, again in the last quarter it did really well. In October, 42% and 8% on November. Now a lot of people are actually comparing this cycle mostly to the 2017 cycle for a lot of reasons, and one of them is that the fact that we're going to enter a super cycle, and also because Donald Trump was in administration at that time as he is right now. So looking at the post-Bitcoin halving year in 2017, which by the way, a quick fun fact, 2025 is also the post-Bitcoin halving year, you can see that it has done a 46.2% in November with a 70% return in December. So if we did take that as a kind of a simulation and see what could the price be if we went ahead and repeated history. So the current price of Ethereum right now is 4,600 or around that number. If we times that by 1.46%, we get a price of 6,700 by November of this year. Could that happen? Again, I don't know. I'm just doing simulation, some fun numbers. And then if we do that again by the end of December, 1.7, that is a price of 11,400, a very achievable price. And actually what's also really crazy is that it lands very closely to the second Fibonacci extension level, which is at 11,308. So if you remember what I said at the beginning of this video, I don't believe in coincidences, ladies and gentlemen. And I also wanted to take this time to thank and show appreciation to the YouTube members who are choosing to support my small channel, who want me to continue doing what I do, pumping up those videos to you guys. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure, and of course I will continue doing so. And again, big thank you to the viewers, the people who comment, the people who share the video. Thank you very much. And moving on to the highlighted comments with one from LevHack says, PulseChain is cooked. Myself and so many others who sacrificed 2 years ago are all leaving. Watching everything else moon except us. We are all out. So again, I just hope the beginning of this video kind of answered your question, because you've actually kind of inspired me to make such video, a reminder for all of us. So yeah, moving on to the next comment here from Stefan. Says, your videos never fail to amp me up about the true money-making potential in the PulseChain community. 2 more weeks. And you know what, that actually might be the title of this video. So yeah, thank you very much for all the comments, and of course to every other comment. I read them all. So yeah, going back to the video. And finally, but not least, we have a tweet from Mando, which I am so surprised that I don't follow him back. So make sure you guys also do. Here he says, hey, Richard Hart. The network was forked at nearly 1 to 1.2 million ETH to Pulse ratio. I'd imagine at bare minimum getting back to a 1 to 1.2 million wrapped ETH to wrapped Pulse ratio would be a minimum goal. That's a 79x from current price against Ethereum. But a natural uptrend must begin right now. We can't paint an insta god candle. 5 to 6 months is required. It's about garnering respect in the industry and putting PulseChain on the table among its like-kind chains. It's about making the community stronger and the people who have been there from day one respected among their peers, families and friends, which brings more adoption. Any army needs energy to fight a war. It needs a win. It needs provisions. It needs leadership to follow. It needs a reason to stay enlisted. It's time for the PulseChain community to get that infusion of power and positive energy the community deserves. There is nobody left to shake out. Hashtag the time is now. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps the end of this video. I hope you guys learned something new. You've just verified to me that you're not a TikTok user, and I hope that you feel more confident in your bags and in general the whole bull run. So I'm going to end it there. Big shout out to the man above, trusting the process, trusting God, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.